To order July 17, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Thomas, please.
Lord, please guide us with your hand as we sit here tonight and contemplate the public's business. Please keep all of our exhibitors and children safe as they enter into Fair Week next week. We ask a special blessing for all those involved. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Here.
Commissioner Stacy,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
All right, I will accept a motion to approve the digital audio video recording of our previous board session that was held Tuesday, July the 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. All right, any additional items for the agenda?
Meeting scheduled for next Tuesday.
Meeting scheduled for when?
Tuesday,
It's coming?
yes.
All right.
I was just going to mention the fair opening, make sure we highlighted that.
Okay. Perfect. All right, let's begin with, is there any old business? Let's begin with new business, since I don't see any. National Associations of Commissioners, is that what we have here?
Counties.
Right.
I just wanted to find out, did you find anything out from Kathy?
Uh,
on that?
Yeah, they're not gonna renew it, so we would have to if you're interested in renewing it. And I think Nikki contacted them today and they're gonna get us the information out,
So,
so.
so you don't know how much it is.
No, she said she's traveling today. She'll get me the stuff tomorrow.
Okay. National Association of Counties last year,
National Association of Counties.
last year we joined under
Yes.
probably just over a year ago under Jobs and Family Services, had a membership, and then we were able to capitalize on that. The conference was in Ohio,
Columbus.
so they were definitely making sure that we were, involved and so forth. I think we have found the resources that I know of some, the emails, the things they've sent. We get some publications in print as well, helpful. So I wanted to look and see what the cost of renewal was, and if that had come, because I hadn't seen anything come across. So I put it on here so I'd remember to ask. I think their conference
I'm
was,
reading in Nashville this year, right?
yeah, I think it was last weekend or this past weekend.
So it's too late to register.
For the conference, yes. I wasn't planning on
It's
going to
only
the
worse
conference.
if you were there
I
and you
was
don't
just-
remember.
If we want to continue to have that resource of material, if anybody found it helpful, depending what that cost was for the renewal.
Yeah, I found that the resource is valuable, but I don't know how it would cost. So.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost was, because like I said, we didn't have to pay anything for it last year, so.
Okay, well, the first item on the agenda we have scheduled is Mary Jenkins with the Ohio Port Council. Mary is here. Okay,
We don't think so. I don't know.
if you are Mary Jenkins, please raise your hand.
Yeah, I don't, because I
Okay.
think she would have said something to us. So.
All right, then we'll go on with the rest of the executive. David, are you ready? You're now scheduled 7:15, so you're on early.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah, that means you have an extra, 5 minutes not to talk.
So, so as I let you know last week, there were 3 things I wanted to cover this week, and the intent was just kind of get your feedback and your thoughts on these 3 issues. The first is on the draft contract that I sent to you. The second is, yes.
Let me first introduce you. This is David
Oh, I'm
Zach.
sorry.
It's okay, President
I didn't want to be-
CEO
Sorry.
Seneca Industrial and Economic Development Corporation. We've had some discussions about contract and about doing some plans for the villages and the townships. And one other issue with the SBA. So we're here to talk about those 3 things mostly.
Contract, SBA, and grant.
Okay.
Is it okay if I sit here, or can people hear me? Okay, well, I feel like maybe I should go up on the witness.
How
How about over here?
Okay.
It is hard to hear back there.
Yeah, with
The
that-
acoustics
I
don't.
can tell sometimes when, usually people don't accuse me not being able to hear. I'm not used to that, but,
Approach
okay.
the bench.
So, so on the contract, what I did is I took the city's contract, which is kind of a basic contract with some things, and I adapted it for the county as a base starting point. And so what I'm hoping you get either verbally or in writing from you all. I just want to kind of see if you've had a chance to kind of go through it. If there are some big picture points that you want to bring up to me, and then what I would do is I would take the input from all three of you, weave that into a second draft. So I'm here tonight to see if there's anything you want to share as things you would like to make sure I put into version 2.0 as we work on a contract. So I think we're both amenable for the purposes of the public. We all agree this would be a good thing. So we're working on trying to get a multi-year contract so that we all understand and are clear and everybody knows what we're doing. So we're very comfortable with that. So with that, I'll kind of open it up to discussion from the commissioners on elements that you would like to see in. You don't have to give them to me, you can give them separately, but if you have them, I wanted to make sure to stop out and kind of ask so I can begin to put it together.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No?
So, yeah, I've got I've got my thoughts, and this is
Pull
certainly.
this out so I can run them down.
And I do think it's appropriate that we discuss them here so that we have that same conversation.
Absolutely.
So, and this would be my offer, I mean, from my perspective personally, what I would like from SIDAC on a contract or scope. But, I would equally make this offer to FEDC if they wanted to, bid on this contract, so to speak. But my thoughts are that we need a multi-year contract. I'm saying like 3 years with an annual review of scope. And the reason I think it needs to be a multi-year contract, because from my perspective, I would be asking SIDAC to do more, or the Economic Development Agency to do more than what they're currently doing. So you may have staffing ramp up that you would want to do. So I think a 3-year or a multi-year contract makes sense. In my mind, I like our $16,000 per year as a membership, regardless if you take that contract or not, but then the contract is a $25,000 quarterly supplement. And I know one of the things that Commissioner Kirschner tries to incorporate in all of our contracts is cancelable by either party with 90 days notice if something isn't working. So I think that's a good idea here as well. So then beyond that, I have what I would call the Seneca 6, the 6 things I'd like to see in the scope. Whether or not those are incorporated in the contract or not, I'm slightly indifferent, but I think the contract is probably the place to put them. But I could be talked out of that either way, whether it's in a scope document that we review annually, or if it's part of the contract language. I'm open-minded on that. But my Seneca 6 that I'd like to have done would be to engage each and every incorporated village during each calendar year, village council meeting or meeting with the mayor or something to that effect. Communicating with each of our 15 townships on a annual basis, meeting as far, as needed. If a township doesn't have anything going on, then obviously that doesn't require a meeting. But if you reach out to the fiscal officer, or if you stop by the township, and just as long as they know we're here for them, we're providing economic development for them. I think with your social media, you've done a really nice job of celebrating the success of Tiffin City Schools, and I would like to see that same celebration of the county schools and the success that we're having out there. So if that's Katie or some like person reaching out to the superintendents, and as Seneca East or New Regal or Old Fort has good news to share, that we're sharing that as well, because that they're all creating the workforce of tomorrow that we all want to talk about. One of the things, and then maybe this is a little bit Charlene, but I think SIDAC is an appropriate place to house it, and that's complete and maintain a comprehensive list of properties that are ripe for development in the townships and villages. That may be industrial sites, residential subdivision sites, and then promote them equally or accordingly, as well as sites in our own City of Tiffin Industrial Park. And I'm not saying that you don't do that now if it's asked of you, but I would like to see that in a more robust fashion where you could say, in the village of Attica, there was a plastic factory here next to the railroad tracks. We know it's got gas. We've got, and it's ready to go, or it could be ready to go. I'm also interested in having a renaissance in village life, and I think one thing that you and I agree on often is that the downtown is the heartbeat of a community, and we've done some really good things with the mayor and economic development in downtown Tiffin. I'd like to see that same kind of renaissance in the villages, and so I'd like to have someone engage in the villages with a Main Street initiative for Bettsville, for Bloomville, for New Regal. We do some of that with CDBG money. We're doing some sidewalks in New Regal through Charlene, and we've had conversations with the village of Republic about some things they're doing downtown, and we're working diligently with the village of Attica on a dilapidated building they have downtown. But I would like to see that in a more organized fashion. And then number 6 on the Seneca 6 is to support any legal business attempting to locate or expand in the county, regardless of gender, color, religious beliefs, political attributes, popularity, etc. As Gil Goldberg and I were talking about, he said to remove small p politics from any kind of economic development. So those would be my 6 suggestions for the contract.
Thank you.
Where are we at, David, right now, as far as the money goes? How much did we approve last meeting?
67,000 through the end of the year,
67,000,
through the end of the calendar year.
Okay, so we're all in at 83,000
No, 67 total.
67.
total.
17 plus
Okay,
50.
so under this is 116. So under the proposal,
Yeah, it would be,
16
yes,
plus.
that's correct, sorry, yep.
Okay, so a significant increase.
Yes.
Is that what the contract is calling for, or
That's
My
suggestion.
contract didn't
that's
have
just
that.
your thoughts at this
Yes,
point?
my thought.
Yeah,
Just
no,
my
mine was, my contract didn't have it, it was pretty,
So we
kind of
talked,
like a place to start.
Right.
and, Yeah.
so we talked in terms of 3 years. Is that for you and your board? Is that?
I can't speak for my board, but I would certainly recommend, I think that's appropriate now with parallel what we're currently doing with the city of Tiffin as well.
Okay.
The things I looked at like you said, it was just a draft contract.
Place to start.
Yeah, just a place to start. And a couple of things I marked. I'm going to come back to those under the incentives, but the just specifics that I thought we probably needed, and I think Shane's ideas obviously bring some of this in, was kind of how to measure time/commitment with it in getting. This was so general, but I know it was just a place to start. But specifically, such as county needs, is there anything we want to outline in the ways of, say, infrastructure? Whether that's about roads, working with ODOT, it's about bridges, it's about broadband. We've got a sewer district, but just is there some very specific types of things that we want to have or not have as ideas in the contract? I mean, I think that's a discussion to figure out. And then I had as well the townships, the village needs, and because that is the makeup of, I mean, obviously, everybody who lives in the municipalities are part of the county as well, but very specifically, as you have a separate city administration and, without having contracts with every township and village, but how would we do some things specifically with them to make sure we're making sure they're aware of the tools that you have in your toolbox for economic development, the different things that are out there, things they maybe have not thought of, afraid to ask, whatever it might be. So I was trying to figure that out.
Let me dovetail into that just a moment. It seems to me from the outside looking in that whenever economic development focused on a specific issue, downtown specifically, e-communications, doing things through the internet and doing other types of things, we have a person who basically is in charge of the downtown revitalization on staff. They have other duties, but that person's main focus is that, would you say?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
almost exclusively.
and so we have somebody whose main focus is communications, both written and, through use of the internet, social media. Okay, so if we would talk about doing, $25,000 a quarter plus the $16,000, is it reasonable to talk about putting somebody on the staff whose specific duties it would be to concentrate on the villages and the townships and promote, their primary responsibility. The reason I say that is because it seems that model has been relatively successful for you by virtue of what's happened in downtown Tiffin and by virtue of what's happened from the communication standpoint.
Yeah, I'm very open to exploring that. I like what I'm hearing, absolutely. The biggest challenge with our additional staff is resources. The county, again, I'm not speaking from my board, this is kind of first reaction. I love the idea, yeah, absolutely. So another way to phrase the question, with the additional resources, could we hire somebody that would have abilities and be able to focus almost exclusively on some of these things? I think the answer to that question is yes.
Sorry.
That's right. The only other things I had marked, and we have a lot of slight overlap with different groups and organizations who do things and kind of hand off and so forth, and I didn't know if we get into a little of that maybe being too much or not. Under incentives and resources, number 3, you had about assist the county with grants and other things, and maybe there are types of grants, but we've utilized regional planning for doing some grant work, specific grant work for us, that kind of stuff. So just one of those things we watch and see how those things blend and work together. And I didn't know if you had any examples when contracted to do so, and again, I know this was just an outline, but administrative programs on behalf of the county, separate written contract, but could be entered into with SIDEC and the county. Did you have any specific examples of where you've done that with the city? Because you've had a contract with
We
them.
administer the city's community development block grant.
Okay, so
As
that's,
Charlene does for the county, for the community development, we do that for the city. So that's why it's really adapted from that contract as a starting point. So that's why that's in there. There could be any number of things. For example, we're talking about a new program here. Doesn't necessarily mean to have additional funds with it. If there are administrative funds, as Charlene will tell you, in that particular grant. I don't think with that particular program we're talking about there are any administrative fees, but I think that's just how that particular contract was set up.
Okay.
And that was why. I think that the idea was if there's some big new program that comes down the pike, you want to be clear about the arrangements and what admin's involved. Not just the expectation here to handle it, so it would be discussed. I think that's the intention of that.
and then the other things I noted under reporting requirement, I think things that you have done already, but we could incorporate into if we had such a segment in a new contract, would possibly be strategic planning committee, because you've participated in that. You've done some things for us with that, and maybe some of the other things. I know I don't remember who's voting members of the Transportation Improvement District, but at least that is a group that you would have involvement with. I don't know, whatever
Yeah.
else,
I got you.
land bank possibly, at least again, just for where it ties in with villages stuff. But like I said, we just have to work through this with, our other key partners, regional planning, anything else, and figure out how it works. But Commissioner Thomas, I appreciate some of your thoughts and ideas there. I think there's some innovative thoughts that could be very beneficial to developing this relationship for like a multi-year thing. I'm in favor of that as well, multi-year.
I think that gives me enough to work on, put together version 2.0 and keep having discussions. Great. Any other further comments on that issue? Any further takeaways from me? Or go ahead, okay.
Let's go on to the next thing.
So SBA Small Business Initiative, so it was kind of at this point, wanted to check in and see where all of you were at with that. If you had a point that you wanted to do some more due diligence, or you felt that was something you were potentially interested in partnering with the city of Tiffin on. And again, we're setting this up. So the idea would be available anywhere through Seneca County, which would certainly be my desire to have that tool available. But I just want to see where you're at with that. Do you feel like you have enough information? Do you feel like you want more information? SBA is just wanting to know where you're at. They, happy to come visit individually or come here. So I'm just trying to facilitate and see where you're at on that particular program.
Well, my position is that I like it anytime you can help a small business get started. I don't like it by incenting them to be successful and then us not getting paid back. That concept is foreign to me. So for that reason, I don't like this particular program.
Okay.
I would love to participate in an SBA program.
Right.
That is along the line of a revolving loan fund, or it's along the line that you would reduce the interest rate or award, reward somebody for being successful, short of forgiving their debt. So because of those reasons, I'm not comfortable with that program, but I certainly am comfortable with partnering with the city, either Tiffin or Fostoria,
Understood.
and any programs that are out there that make sense to me.
SBA is a great partner, you just don't
This one
really
doesn't.
care for this program.
This
There's
one
more
just
than 200
doesn't.
programs, so it's not like you have to like every single one,
So
so,
it's probably the old banker me, but it just doesn't compute.
okay.
I'm following along the same lines. I'm not feeling that it's a good fit for us because as much as I think it sounds like a good program, we're not a financial institution to be doing, coming up with the programs to deal with it. We have a revolving loan fund because of its government streams that are involved in that, so forth. But to be the incubator or the expansion, venue is not where I would look for businesses to come to the county for that. They'd come to the Chamber of Economic Development for that. And maybe if we had our own economic development person and we're contracting with SIDEC, that we would have to have our economic development person do this for the county. But I look at it as that being the role of SIDEC and not under the county hat directly. And if it was requiring funding from the general revenue fund, that's a struggle for me because of all the demands we have on that and many things on the list.
I think our job is to create an atmosphere in which businesses have an opportunity to be successful. Our job is to give them money.
Yeah, I'm following along those lines. I do think that access to capital is an interesting topic that we should spend more time on. And if there's some way that the commissioners can facilitate private investors to marry up with private entrepreneurs, if there's something that we can add to facilitate that, I'm all for it because I do think it's a piece that's missing in the entrepreneurial ecosystem is access to capital. You go to Silicon Valley, all kinds of capital. You go to Chicago, all kinds of capital. Not so much in Seneca County. So if we can help facilitate a venture fund or some support for facilities or staffing, I think that may make some sense down the road. But we'd have to look at that when it comes along. But I do want to say that I really appreciate Gil Goldberg and his effort to put this together with us. I mean, he made a second trip down, met with me on 5th of July, spent as much time as I needed to get my mind wrapped around it. So it certainly doesn't diminish my high opinion of the SBA and Gil Goldberg and the programs they run out of there. But this one doesn't seem to fit for us.
Okay, well, I appreciate, as they say in business, a quick no is better than straight on that one. So that's
Second
good,
best-
and I'm sure it won't
second
in any
best.
way damage the relationship with the SBA. So
When you're trying to sell something, the second best answer is no.
that's right. No answer is the
Yeah.
answer that is not the best answer. Okay, so branding. Commissioner Kirshner has been a part of a steering committee of the 4 organizations that put in funding towards the community branding initiative. And that was the city and the City of Tiffin, Chamber of Commerce, as well as SIDEC and Seneca County. And successfully went through that branding initiative and came out with the things I see on county and SIDEC and city, and also with the Chamber and Destination City County. So it's being implemented. And one of the things we did following that was ask for proposal for collateral material. So it was the idea that, okay, if we wanted to do certain kind of implementation things that we didn't think that we wanted to have it at a high level, really nice, what kind of price point do you have, what kind of work can you do? So they kind of put a big laundry list of different things that they could do together Deputy Mayor Aaron Mons, Commissioner Kirschner, myself, and President and CEO of the Chamber, John Detweiler, got together and went through that list. Some of those things we decided could be done locally within Seneca County, and if you can find somebody local to design it, that would be great. Examples, a note card or a thank you card, and people may want that or not want that, but that would be an example of something that we all decided we really don't need. We don't need to seek professional help outside of our community. There were 2 areas. I didn't submit to you the whole proposal, but what we did is people said, okay, well, I'm interested in this, interested in participating in this. And the 2 that came up that Commissioner Kirschner said, I would be interested in exploring with my other commissioners whether it makes sense for the county to potentially participate in this, are the 2 that I sent to you. And what we asked them to do was the following. We said, okay, we have 4 different entities involved, and there may be other entities involved. Can you come up with a master design price and then a per entity price, which is basically like if 2 people go in, they would split the design cost and then pay the per entity fee. And of course, if you have 3 entities, it splits the base design cost by 3, and then each entity, then you have each entity paying a separate fee. I figured that was kind of the fairest way to do it. That way, there, if there's, and we would all have the sense of what it costs. So there are 2 areas that I was bringing to you just to get your thoughts, and these are areas that some of the organizations want to participate in. So the question is, are these things that the county would be interested in participating in? And the first is kind of professionally designed letterhead envelopes and kind of a really nice professional email signature. And so I tend to, we want to participate, we want to do this, the city of Tifton does, Chamber does not. And I'll speak for myself, just in a general sense, that this is stuff we use all the time. And by letterhead, it's not only stuff you would print on, stuff that would go electronically. I use this kind of correspondence every time, every day. So if I'm doing a report, if I'm doing a write-up, I'm obviously sending emails every day. That's something that looks, I don't know if you've come across when people come across your email desk, people that send it and it's professional, it looks good all the time. I mean, I'm sending hundreds of emails a week. And so to me, it's paying a little fee up front to have it designed well and then just use the heck out of it. Seems to me a good investment of what we're trying to do and trying to make sure that as we're communicating with people, our clients and touch business coming in, the impression that they get from us is, wow, this is an organization that looks great, has their act together, we can trust them to take care of us. So that's the intent from our organization. So I can't speak for other organizations' intent and the mission, but I'm just kind of sharing personally why SIDC thinks it's important. So let me go into a little bit of what the proposal is. So it would be the design of letterhead and envelopes based on coordinator stationery. So based on the brand standards, that this is Upward Brand Interaction, the folks that did the branding initiative that ran it. 2 hours of revisions, so they come up with a master design, and then it goes through hours of revisions depending on, oh, I don't like that, needs to be tweaked. Proofing, final production art, and then so that's kind of the base concept they come up with. And then every entity, it'll be adapted to that entity or entities to have it customized. So obviously that would be for Seneca County. The master design would be $565 to basically design the master, and $175 per entity. So that would be, so right now there are 2 entities in. So if the county wanted to participate, it would be $565 divided by 3. Commissioner Kirschner, you did great math there earlier, and you can probably figure that out. And then an additional $175 for that per entity. And of course, that would be for your use both electronically and then the design so that you could have letterhead printed and those kinds of things. So again, I didn't necessarily want to get an answer today, but I wanted to see if you had any questions about that. And I'll stop before I talk about the second one to see if there are any questions about that. And obviously, I've not presented this to you before, so you may need to ruminate on it and think about it. But I want to see if you have any questions. Or
So $600 to get the logo design usable in the formats that we currently
to get the
use.
letterhead envelope and email signature design based on the brand mark and the standards that have been developed and something that looks great.
Now, we've already been okay with using it. We've already incorporated using it, like I put it in my signature block.
Yes, you're okay to
help
do
of
that.
staff.
You've paid for that right to do
Okay.
that.
As I say, because we've been doing that, so I'm not sure I guess I'm not sure that I feel like we need to pay somebody to design it when we've already incorporated using it.
it's what, and some
Cause we
people
don't
would
send
feel
near
that
the,
way.
like emails like you do, like, weeklies or bi-weekly or whatever.
Yeah,
I send a lot of emails, but not in a newsletter format or an email communication, you know what I mean? Type of
Okay.
thing that I feel like I need a template for. That's just me.
Well, I'll make sure I understand too, that this would be adaptable to each of the electeds as well. I mean, if we had letterhead for the auditor, the treasurer, I mean, it could be very similar.
I have
except-
not asked that question. We are doing a presentation for the elected
Okay.
later this week. But
I-
so your question is, would all the electeds fall under the one entity of the county? That's your question. I don't know the answer to
Or
that
could
question.
they modify it to do that if it was generic enough? if you will?
Yeah, yep.
What
I
do
can
we
ask.
have for letterhead now? Do we actually have letterhead or do we, no, we just kind of make it up as we go, right?
It just says Seneca County Commissioners at the top with our name, with your
Right.
names, and then at the bottom just has our address.
So there isn't any specific design of any station?
No, there's no design on it, it just,
Yeah, I just like the message that it sends, that is similar to the city of Tiffin, similar to economic development. Again, one of the ideas here with the branding is that we're all in this game together and we're all similar kind of things with the message that we send.
And I guess I thought the branding thing was going to get incorporated in that when we needed to do that or something, or could be. And I guess I didn't know that we needed something specifically designed that we wouldn't do ourselves, but that's just,
It's-
That's
you
just my
don't- you
reaction to
don't
this.
need it.
Yeah.
It's, it's like everything else. It's-
Yeah.
Would you accept an motion to spend another $1,000 to get us there if needed?
Yeah, I'm okay. You've got one more thing. I mean, I guess the thing that we have to appreciate is the fact that we went through 23 items that they were offering.
Yeah.
And out of
Yeah,
that-
this is,
And
yeah,
out
there
of
was
that,
a,
we cherry picked 2.
Yeah.
Because we thought all the rest, as you said, Commissioner Stacy, could be done locally or could be modified.
or didn't need to get done at all.
Yeah, or doesn't need to get done.
There were
Yeah.
a number of items that we wouldn't use on a day that we didn't feel.
Right.
I don't think I've been as good implementing the brand as I want to be, so
Okay.
this resonates with me. So I would make a motion that we spend up to $1,000 to get us in a position where this is usable for additional electeds in our office.
I will second, and the discussion would be, you had another item as well that you wanted to talk about.
yeah, because I had questions on that other item.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was,
Oh, are they?
because there was no
they
price on the
separate?
other
Yeah,
item.
I'm just looking, I'm surprised there's no price on
Yeah,
that.
I thought as
That
well,
one's not
because I
cheap.
really thought maybe, yeah.
That one's not cheap. So let me
Yeah,
tell you
and-
about that.
and
I
I
can
looked
tell
on
you
the
what
back
it
and
is.
it
You might take the
wasn't-
money
Yeah,
you've got
for
up
that
on the
to be
table.
secret. Yeah, and I'll look it up here.
Let's make that
I
part of
said,
the
I said that to
discussion
Stacy, I said, I'm looking at this, and I said, there's no price on the second one, this is the one I would think would cost some
So
money.
this
Yeah,
is,
I have another-
so the concept behind the second item, and to again, to kind of present and let people understand what they're, second item we all kind of liked, and this was, everybody kind of liked it, was this idea of kind of a community brochure, really nice stock, really well designed, that you could present to anyone, a visitor, a business, anybody, and it would have within it a section that would be, for each of the entities that participates, there would be a section on Seneca County where you could emphasize, whether it's the villages or whatever you would want to emphasize, you could do that. And the city of Tiffin could emphasize what they would want to do. And the chamber and that, so like everybody gets their section, you got the logo kind of goes. So it's kind of presenting ourselves, and these are the parts of our personality and what we kind of have to offer. It's a very flexible sales piece that a lot of people could use. That's the intent. I love it because it's something that you could send off. I just sent off this week for somebody looking at the spec building, electronic document. So it's a PDF, so you can send it. But the idea is, when you do a face-to-face meeting, there's nothing like having this. This could be in a number of places. It could be at the county offices. Anybody's coming. So it's really, everybody thought universities could use them, so and businesses could use them. So it's really a general piece on, like if you're waiting in a doctor's office anywhere, it could be anywhere in the county, or those kind of things. It really just shows the best side of us and kind of why we're great and really kind of distills some of the things we learned through the branding process, but allowing each individual entity to kind of shine and have its own little place. And so I think that's why everybody kind of, at least it was kind of like, oh, so we get to kind of, within the overall brand concept and the brand narrative and the brand story, we can now showcase the like. And so there's a lot of stuff in there. And the copywriting, so, you know, it's really getting to make it pop in terms of narratively how it works. There's multiple design concepts, and then they select it. You know, photography that just goes along with that, that looks outstanding. 4 hours of design revisions, final files for production, and the overall cost, I believe, was $7,600, which would mean it'd be, I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure that's relatively in the ballpark. So it'd be like 1,800. You know, right now there are 3 that are going in, so it'd be roughly that 7620. I think it was 7625. I'd be wrong, and if that is, I'll follow up with it. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So basically, that doesn't include printing cost, but we would figure that out. And I know we're going to print some. Certainly could a lot, you know, people have some of those, but so that would be the idea. So it's that one thing you get and it's something that I would imagine will have shelf life. This isn't going to be something that's going to have 1 year. This is going to be something the brand's going to live for, you know, I think for years. It's fresh, it's clean, it's going to look good. So I see this as a piece we could use. I mean, I've been here, this is going on 5 years, definitely in that period of time. It's definitely going to be at least 5 years where we can showcase what's going on.
Well, we talked about making it so that the individual pieces were replaceable as time went on. New dates, the folder itself, or the larger piece would have to be relatively generic, but
Yes.
the inserts would all be up to date.
So yeah, so there's a couple additional concepts coming by, and so this is why, you know, it's one is we talked about doing so either this piece would have a folder pocket in the back where you could put additional sheets, and or there would be an accompanying folder that would have the same kind of artwork where you could put sheets. The need to have something where if you have things you want to put in and you want to give, we need that as well. So whether that's combined as part of this or a separate thing, you know, we have not talked upward about that, but Commissioner Kirshner is absolutely correct. That is something that came out of that meeting as a need. It just wasn't something I have a proposal on yet. So we need to talk about it.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't this be a Visitors Bureau function? Shouldn't this be significantly underwritten by the Visitors Bureau? Has there been an ask?
Yeah, they're going to participate. You're saying that you believe they should pay a larger share of this particular item. Is that what you're saying? That's not a discussion that's been had. The piece that's, you know, that hasn't been had. That discussion has not been had.
What this reminded me of was
And I don't have any. That's the first time I don't have a reaction.
so I have to draw back on former experiences of being a chamber director, but reminded me of what we called a county book. And we did a county book like every 2-3 years with one individual in the room who designed that county book for us at least 1 year, if not more than that. And there's a lot of companies out there that, and maybe Upward's one of them, but that specifically would work with chambers to do that. They would, yes, they sold ads and there was ads in the book, and it had, it's supposed to be, you know, an unlimited shelf life until we did a new one. So we didn't put a big year on the front. You know, it was in the copyright, tried to showcase the quality of life. So it talked about our spiritual, our healthcare, our business and industry, our neighborhoods, our villages and townships, our municipalities, all those key educational systems. So I don't know if you're thinking of that at all, but this is what I think of when I think of this.
So the chamber right now produces the visitors piece, right?
Yeah, and then we always had a visitor's guide too, separate.
So this
from a
is,
different-
you know, from my perspective, and obviously it can be done in many different ways in many different communities. I know that in other local economic development situations where I was in Springfield as an example, you know, I like the idea of being able to have, if it is done, I want to be able to say, I want to have I want to have an economic development message. So if it's just kind of a general quality of life piece, that's going to be a little bit different than how I envision this. It's going to have these different components. It hasn't been a part of the Chamber's mission to do some piece like this. And without having pursued Commissioner Thomas's idea It was something that I felt would be very useful for my organization, and especially when we can kind of highlight things that we and it's kind of like, I guess the best way to say it, a chamber. If 1/4 of it is kind of economic development, that's a little heavier on, but it kind of showcases the economic growth and just kind of like, here, come and live, or come and visit piece, which is that kind of piece. So we want it to be flexible and usable by a lot of different folks. I'm interested in kind of getting it done, so it's kind of like it's easier to sell, everybody kind of going in. But I'm certainly willing to ask if people are willing to.
I said it was a fundraiser for us. It was done in years. We did all the
I don't want
copywriting
ads
and
in
the
it. I
pictures.
don't want
Years
ads in
didn't.
it. I don't want ads in it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that.
And you don't-
me for what
that's a
I want
different-
to use it for.
But that
Again,
included all our
everybody's-
quantities, so we had them to give out, whereas you're looking at something you're not gonna mass produce it, print it.
No, because it's
So
you're not.
So I
Gonna
think
do
there's
it.
room
It's
for more
gonna
to
be
s-
on
yeah.
nicer. Yeah, it's not going to be on the kind of stock that you would see the Destination Seneca County business got.
So I think that there's a sense that we'd like to participate in some collateral material.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet as far
Yeah,
as
I didn't-
everything we're talking about.
This is the first
So
time we've had kind of a group
I'll ask
discussion.
Chris Johnson to table the motion if that's okay.
Okay.
Do we want to move on the collateral stuff and come back and visit the brochures? Or we can
Yeah,
move forward
I
on
would be
that?
happy, if you want to change your motion to say specifically about the collateral stuff,
Yeah,
I would change my stuff.
Okay, so we can move on that, and then we'll just keep working on this one.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Need a roll call on that motion then, please.
up to $1,000.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Gonna say no.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Not understanding.
I always say until we get everyone to disagree.
Okay.
The,
It wouldn't be a meeting unless somebody said no.
Yeah, I like the idea of the brochure. I just think where that should come from, maybe it's a little different. So I like the idea, and if it has to come back to us, I mean, I'm open to it. I just.
Well, the other thing, Commissioner, I think that we could, possibly tie in this contract to that. I mean, we're talking about some bit of an increase here. Maybe we could designate part of that for such things as collateral. Sure. Okay.
Okay, anything else for me? These are the three issues I want to cover tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
David.
Don't see the board.
Yes,
Oh,
she is.
okay.
Is that she,
All
I'm
right.
assuming went in there and said
Mary Jenkins is in the house.
that.
It's your turn.
I don't know if Dr. Price wants to say anything at all.
Who is it?
Dr. Price, he's a veterinarian. She's gonna move here.
So like they said, my name is Mary Jenkins, and I'm on staff with the Ohio Pork Council. Ohio Pork Council has currently about 2,500 members of hog farmers from across the state of Ohio, and they're all served by a board of directors and staff. So I'm here today with Todd Price, who's a local hog farmer and veterinarian. Just talk a little bit more about the pork industry in your area, of course, what we've been doing, what we can do to improve, and also just address any concerns that you also might have. So I'll turn it over to Todd.
Thanks, Mary. I apologize for being late. Besides being a pig farmer and a representative for Pork Council, I also have a 4-doctor vet practice, and we got a little busy today. So I was running about 75 getting up here. So a couple things I want to go over with you guys, just to bring up to speed. You're gonna see an advancement in pork production because of a new plant going in southern Michigan, and you're going to see that in Seneca County. We personally, Price Family Farms, produce pigs in Seneca County, and I want to give you a little bit of an overview. You're going to be getting a lot of questions in the county about things, about pork production, those kind of things, and I wanted to make you folks aware of it. And understand you have you can reach out to anybody at the Pork Council, whether it's Mary or Brian Humphrey, their executive VP, or myself as the local rep. We're more than happy to take your calls 24/7. 5,000 foot overhead hover view. And since 1968, pork production has doubled from 12.1 billion pounds to 22.8 billion pounds. So that's what modern farming has done for you in the country. Okay, we've done that with a 41% reduction in water and a 78% reduction in land use. We've moved pigs inside, right? All kind of makes sense. We also have a 35% reduced carbon footprint than we had 50 years ago. So as modern farming takes on kind of a little bit of a negative tone once in a while, we have to remember how we've moved in the last 50 years and what we've done. And we've taken part in all this as all producers have. If we look at how we raise these pigs, look at the barns, we are currently about finishing about 40,000 pigs a year, and 85% of those are in Seneca County. Okay, we're moving those barns in Seneca County. We have another one going up now just south of Fostoria here. Those barns from the ground up are total new technology. All right, the manure is held in pits; they're totally sealed. Those pits, the manure in those pits has a value to it for fertilizer, and so our producers, that's our growers that contract grow our pigs for us, that's their fertilizer. And so that helps them put back on their crop. They put that back on their crops according to a manure management plan, which we work with them on. And they typically they always have to have that to get their financing and get everything put in place. As well, when the barns are sited, the Ohio Pork Council worked hard in the last 2 years to get a siting program put in place. We felt it was something we had to do for our producers to help everybody across the state. Let's put barns in good spots, so we have the least amount of impact on our neighbors and other folks. And so that siting program is two-tier. A lot of it is questions answered by a third party, asked by a third party, and then also part of it's just where it's set. So if we look at a GPS map now, we can look exactly where it sets, prevailing winds come from, who are we going to affect, those kind of things. We take all that into account. And I would tell you that of the sow farms in the state that are contract growing pigs, 99% of those are using this siting program now. It's totally voluntary. They don't have to use it. They want to use it. So we use it on ours. It was sited at the Anway barn outside of Tiffin there east of town. We're using it on the Smith barn south of town here. It's just something we've totally adapted. If they don't site the barn for us, we won't let them go first. Okay, so we're trying to be proactive, especially with Lake Erie and what's going on. We're trying to do what we can do as council members and I as a producer to keep things reasonable. Again, getting back to manure, when it's applied given all the state and federal regulations, but also given local soil testing. Okay, so whatever that farm soil test says for phosphorus, potassium, will dictate how much manure we can put on. And we follow that very closely. So one of the biggest things we do on Pork Council at our meetings, which are 8 or 10 a year, we try to work on ways we can educate producers across the state. And anything we can do, a lot of our programs we put on our educational programs. So those are some things to keep in mind. If you move up the barn and you get above the slat level where the pigs are, I think a lot of people would be astonished if they walked into a barn. Actually, when we opened the Smith barn down here in about 4 months, we'd invite you all to come out and take a look at it and do a tour. We did an open house at the Amway barn. We invite all the neighbors, have them go through, and everyone today, they're just astonished at what they look like, how clean they are. If you were in one of those barns today, they're what we call tunnel ventilated, so you see the big fans on the end of the barn, the curtain on the other end, it blows through there. It's actually, as one of my growers told me today, he said, I can sleep in there at night. I mean, there's misters on, there's fans pulling air. That's all controlled by what is now a new program called a computer edge. As all technology, we've adopted it. Not cheap, but we've adopted it, and we can control them with our cell phone. So one of my producers was on vacation in Mexico a month ago, and he had a fan go out. It automatically alerted him. He called me. I was within 5 miles of the barn. Got there, got things fixed, and everything was back to normal. So you can literally be someplace else and still keep an eye on your barn. Totally different than it was 25, 30 years ago. So technology is coming on board. We're advancing with those things. 24 hours a day of food and water. If we have, even in my barn, that's 13 years old, that we have a Sensaphone, which is the older type of technology, where if a feed auger doesn't run or a fan shuts down, then it calls our cell phone. It doesn't automatically give us a text or an alert, which the new ones do. So they're very, very nice. And I can't adjust mine from my cell phone. I have to get to the barn and adjust it. Where the new barns, you can literally log on with your cell phone and do all your adjustments on your cell phone. So it's just state-of-the-art technology. So I want to make you guys aware of what we're doing there, and then give you an idea of your local impact. You all are here to serve the county. That's why we elect you, and I want you to know what we do here. Okay. So if you look at one of our double wide barns, holds 2,400 head. That barn will use about 21,000 bushel of corn a year. Okay, so a significant amount of corn and about 640,000 pounds of soybean meal. All of ours, in particular, comes out of Tiffin Farmers, so it's all grown locally. Drives that market, gets our farmers locally a higher price for their crops. So besides that, we also have construction jobs, maintenance jobs, delivery, trucking the pigs to market. Our particular pigs come from Henry County, so they're trucked down here. Actually, to Don and Dale Franklin, just south of Fostoria, or they're trucked to Tim Kessler right over by Baskin. So everything's in Seneca County. So we feel we have a pretty good impact. And if we look at one of those barns, we're going to go through about 1,800 tons of feed in a year on that double. Okay, so fairly significant impact. If you look at just what we do, and we are at 40,000 fat hogs a year, we are a small farm. And I want to try to get rid of the dogma of corporate farming because we run as Price Family Farms Incorporated, LLC. It's still my wife and I and 4 kids. Okay, it's still a family farm. So we will use, on our farm alone, we use 360,000 bushels of corn. That's about 2,100 acres of corn at the county average. That's a fair amount of corn we're pulling, and 2,000 ton of beef meal. We're going to produce about 11 million pounds of live pork, or about 8.3 million pounds of carcass. We're going to feed about 180,000 people. So it's a small family farm operation, but it still has wide-reaching effects. And I don't tell you that to boast or anything. I'm trying to bring you guys up to speed on what hog farms are today. Besides raising pigs and crop farming 500 acres, I also have 3 veterinary offices and 4 doctors, and all I do is pig work. So unfortunately, as my wife said, everything you do revolves around pigs, but it does. So we service herds in about 4 states. So I'm heavily vested in the commercial pig production, and I will tell you that 99.9% of my producers do it right. Okay, so we talk about antibiotics in pork. We all go through an educational program called Pork Quality Assurance. I audit them. We go through it every 3 years, much like your 4-H kids do every year. Okay, same thing. There's random audits at the packing plant. So we do things like that that a lot of people don't realize that happens. And mainly, I want to let you guys know that we're here. If you guys need to reach out to one of us, if you have questions, I will tell you that Northwest Ohio is going to start getting a lot more finisher barns up now because you have the cold water plant just across the line. And so everything about production agriculture is logistical. And so we're not going to put pigs in Southeast Ohio when there's a packing plant up here. So you're going to see Fulton, Henry, Defiance, Woods, Seneca County get more finishers as we move on. That'll be a natural tendency. Ohio right now is at 7th or 8th in pork production, depending on which ranking you look at, and that will do nothing. That will do nothing but increase. We actually had the largest increase last year in the country as a percentage of what we had the year before. So you might be getting more questions about it. I just want you to be aware of what we're doing. The newest thing we're working on now is our biofilters to try to help the gases that come out of it. We're trying to filter it naturally. So if you'll see a lot of our barns, they'll be setting facing the woods, and we use Mother Nature's carbon in that leaf to try to filter that, to try to limit the problems we have with any kind of aroma or anything. So doing all we can do, keep trying to improve, from locally at the county fair, Holly, as you know, to everything on down the road. So once you guys know we're here, and if you need anything, you can call our office or call myself, and we'll get you passed in and get you any information you need if you have any questions. So, okay. Again, apologize for being late. Her GPS took her 3 blocks away, and I just couldn't get her fast enough. So, all right. You guys have any questions?
Is there anyone that's taking actually market risk on hogs now, or are they all contract finishers?
If you look at it, so as far as finishing the pigs, the majority of our contract finish. So it's like I do, where I own the pigs. I buy them at 12 pounds, finish them to about 280. So our family owns the pigs, but the contract grower goes to the grower. So they're responsible for daily chores, making sure they order feed on time, making sure they adjust feeders. We market all the pigs. We provide all the product going into that pig. Shives the water. They provide the water. The market risk today is bared by the owner of the pig, unfortunately. And if you look at the number of pigs sold, number of pigs marketed, typically it's about 2.2 to 2.4 million a week sold. So there's pigs on wheels on semis 24/7 getting the packing plants. And the estimates today are, because all the packers won't give you all that information, the estimates today are about 15% of those are sold in cash. Everything else is contract. Now, in defining that, even like our contract, it's a contract for shackle space, but you still have to use the futures to set your pricing. And so in the last 2-3 months, talking about tariffs, it's kind of hurt the pocketbook a little bit, you know. So we still bear that cost, even though people say they have contracted. We have contracted shackle space. We can deliver so many head a year, and we can use a futures contract to set our price. But we have a narrow window to do it in. And so no matter how well those prices and how good those prices were 6 months ago, that doesn't mean we still have access to that, right? We have a window to market in. So it's a financial risk. There's no two ways about it. But at the same time, long term, we do it for a reason. If you look at what Ohio Port Council does, when we go to DC spring and the fall, 99 times out of 100, we walk into a senator or congressman's office, we're asking to have them leave us alone. Okay, we're not asking for handouts. We enjoy a free market, and that's what we want. So just kind of leave us alone. The only time we've had to ask the last 3 years was for a foot and mouth disease bank. We would like, since the federal government says we can't vaccinate, we'd like to have them have vaccine on hand that we would purchase, but have it on hand if they have a break. We'd like to get access to it. That was the only ask we had. So usually it's, hey, let's leave us alone. Let's not, don't put unnecessary burdens on us with paperwork or other things. We have enough going on now, and feel like we do a really good job at what we do. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. The other thing is, I noticed that Governor Kasich released some money for the Lake Erie Basin, and a lot of that money is directed towards the Maumee, which tells me that Sandusky County farmers are doing a really good job with their application, because the Sandusky River is in much better shape than our brethren to the west. So I appreciate your attention to that and working with our Soil and Water Conservation District
And I would say that all farmers do their part. And I won't get into his executive order or what I think of it, but I will just tell you that farmers in general work very, very hard to preserve the resources they have. And we certainly, since we're 1/2 of 1% livestock producers of the entire population, we're an easy bully pulpit. We get kicked around a lot, and that's okay. We just don't want to do. Our biggest concern now is we don't want to take more. It's twofold. One, we don't want to take more paperwork on that's not going to help anybody, that we're already doing, and the majority of us are. The vast majority of us are. And two, my biggest concern as a Port Council member, I don't want to tell the citizens of the state of Ohio we're going to do something, and then we do it, and it does not affect the phosphorus level in Lake Erie one bit, because then they might come back and say we need to do more. Okay, so I'm a big fan of part of his executive order, in that we have to look at all nutrients, whether they come out of the households in Fostoria or Tiffin, or they come out of my farm. We need to be on a level playing field. Okay, so we have to stop looking at farmers as the source of things. We have to look at everyone as the source of this thing. And a nutrient is a nutrient, whether it's phosphorus or potassium. Doesn't matter if it comes out of my pigs or it comes out of our wash water, out of a house, or out of a state. If we do that, we're great. It tell us the rules and we'll abide by them. But we all have to be on a level playing field. Is what we request. So, and I think in Seneca County, we've been doing that, and I agree with you. I think we work hard. There's a lot of factors that affect the Maumee that are a little bit different. And I think everybody forgets too, Lake Erie is the shallowest lake of all of them. And so it's a little easier to get an algal bloom than it is maybe in Superior or Michigan. So there's a lot of science we have to work on yet. And as a matter of fact, we fought hard to keep our checkoff dollars that would try to be taken away from us by a Booker Lee amendment 2 weeks ago as part of the Farm Bill. We fought hard to keep that because it was going to keep us from being able to put money in with other federal money for research. And we want to be part of that research. We want to work with Ohio State or Heidelberg or anybody because we want the facts, so then we know how to adjust our system. If we don't have the facts, we can't adjust what we're doing. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
bacon is important to county life.
Everything's better with bacon.
Thanks for discussion about bacon, so. So then,
Okay.
Jim would like to ask to Dr.
Yeah,
Preston.
sure.
Just a rough estimate, over like the next 5 years, how many new finishing bars do you expect in Seneca County?
You know, in Seneca County,
Yeah.
just the county level, It's gonna depend on where they can be sited. And one thing City County struggles with is we versus Mercer Dark, All Glaze, we have Fostoria, we have Tiffin, we have a fair amount of developed areas. I don't know how many are gonna be sited. I would say your growth in Seneca is gonna be determined by, there aren't many individuals in Seneca that raise pigs. Okay, you've got some contractors like Tombach or maybe Ford, Osiris, that are kind of working up this way a little bit, but they're also expanding everywhere.
So you think like 5 or 50 or?
Yeah, in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say you see a couple of years go up, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. You're not gonna see a whole lot more than that, I would think. But those are low. And if you look at the big numbers across the country, we are finishing pigs in buildings that are sometimes 35 years old. And so there's a huge need for new buildings to come up, because the quicker we get the new buildings up, the more control we have, right? We've recently stopped using, 3 years ago, stopped using a building that didn't have a year's storage supply anymore. So we stopped using it and had to build another new barn that we have that much. So as every barn goes up, I look at it as a positive, because it's new technology, we have better reservoirs and better way of raising things. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
We have maintenance utility request.
Yes, Job and Family Services, we amended our lease back in 2010 because they had vacated that front area where the Park District now is.
Yes.
When we adjusted in 2010 the lease, we took out that part. Job and Family Services kept paying utilities for actually the entire building. So with Park District moving in and with some improvements done to that building, we started having the conversation that, you know, we need to update the lease, update some language, and sat down with John and went over some of the processes. And Job and Family Services are covering all the bills for the utilities currently in that building. Their footprint has gotten smaller. They have asked if the county would be willing to take over those utilities, paying those utilities, but being reimbursed at an actual square footage basis and what they would be using. I think for tracking purposes, that's a good idea. I mean, it would obviously, you know, utility costs would go up on the maintenance budget side, but it would get reimbursed either invoicing or cost allocations. And there's some language in the current lease that talks about invoicing supplies, invoicing maintenance, cleaning, and we would like to make it a little bit cleaner and wrap it up into maintenance and put it back on Job and Family Services through cost allocations. The total, what they've done in the last couple of years, average is about $80,000 a year for that entire building. Veteran Services, Engineer's Office, and Job and Family, which, like I said, they have been covering not getting reimbursed by the county. A couple of those departments obviously were general fund. So I just wanted to let you know that we're working on some language, and I didn't want you to be surprised if, you know, we bring you a lease that talks about general fund, you know, fronting this and getting it reimbursed through cost allocation. Just wondered if you'd had any questions, anything you wanted me to look at doing. Like I said, average is about $80,000 a year for utilities out there. They're looking to either August, probably more September. Obviously, they'd like to do it as soon as possible, but they're working on like a second draft of the lease. So just kind of wanted your thoughts on it, see if we're going in the right direction. I just think it'd be cleaner for maintenance for us, because we spend a lot of time with invoicing and with back and forth with John keeping track of different items, invoicing at 60% of the supplies, and it's a calculation that we've gone through. We've been doing it. We thought this would be a cleaner.
Who's the lease with?
The lease is the county and Job and Family. They pay
Is it the
us.
state of Ohio?
No, it's actually just Job and Family Services. Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry, yeah,
So Ohio is on the other side of the lease?
yes, yep. And we've been leasing since actually the bond was put in place in 1998. Our current lease goes out to 2023. With them calculation, the state gave us a calculation that we had to do for a bond payment. We couldn't just charge them the bond payment, we had to calculate it out. So,
So it would just be a more efficient way for you to bill it, net, it means the same thing to us.
yes, yep, and it would take the burden off of Job and Family. They're still gonna pay it, it's just gonna come around to cost allocations, which they are currently paying for other things, the auditor's fees, county fees, different things like that,
So
so,
we're gonna have a little more of regular utility cost on our
exactly.
bill because it's our departments. But
Yeah.
that's only fair, they're not using as much of the building.
Right, and not really sure why it was never separated out, there's only, one meter. And instead of, putting the cost into splitting it out 2 or 3 meters, we just thought this would be easier to do. It's the same concept what we're gonna do with the Justice Center,
Say the square footage, yeah.
so,
What's our contract for the park district say?
they cover, we did a 3-year cost at zero cost because they paid all the renovations, but they're covering their internet, their phones. We cover the electric, gas, which Job and Family's covering right now. So that was kind of the reason they kind of,
Got it, all right, yeah,
so,
makes sense.
we're still working on it, but I wanted to at least give you an update what we were working on, and so it wasn't a surprise at some point when, maintenance would have to ask for additional funding and what direction we were kind of going with this, so.
All right, before we get on with the supplemental appropriations, I would like to introduce Mayor Eric Keckler. Thank him for being here this evening. You want to introduce the folks you have with you today from the city?
Tonight we have Safety Service Director Doug Coleman and Police Chief Keith Moreno. And we appreciate you bringing the Commissioners meeting over to Fox Ray. It's always good to see you over here. We appreciate you guys' commitment to working with us to help this thing accomplish. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Great to have you here. Okay, supplemental appropriations.
Just go back to the meeting schedule quick
Sure.
as an
Oh,
adjustment.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Next board session, we have a tri-county ditch, and they had asked if we would be available at 9:30 instead of our normal scheduled time at 10 o'clock. Since it's tri-county ditch, Sandusky County, they asked if we could do it 9:30. So what we probably could do is go in session 9:30. Our ditch conversations don't last very long, pass our resolutions, and then.
Up to these two.
Yeah. Only if Charlie commits to being there.
He might be on the phone.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So we'll go into session at 9:30 next week. And that's all I had on the schedule. Holly, you had fair.
Oh, I was just gonna mention that the fair opening is Monday at 8 a.m., the ribbon cutting. And we're all invited to that, we usually attend that, and they'll have donuts or cookies or something right afterwards, if it's inclement weather, let's hope not. It'll be down in the entertainment building.
Very good. Okay, now let's go.
Okay, I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the TCAP fund, putting $16,526 into their fund, various lines. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the general fund. This is putting $10,000 into our other expense. We used the current budget on the, set aside for transportation improvement district, the bus transportation. So we had kind of set money, we used the money we currently had budgeted for, SIDEC and Fostoria to get those funds paid up first. So we needed the additional 10,000 moved. We had already committed to the bus transportation stuff, we just hadn't moved the money yet, so. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation to the general fund. This is at the request of Common Pleas Court for an additional $15,000 in court reporter, transcripts, professional services. I have a resolution accepting a bid and authorizing an agreement with M&B Asphalt for the Issue 1 Round 32 2018 Seneca County Township Road Reconstruction Program. Total amount award was $1,067,926.81. I have a resolution entering into contract with the CT Consultants on behalf of the Seneca County Commissioners authorizing Mike Kirschner as president to sign. We had discussed this, it wasn't the last meeting, maybe the meeting before, for the master plan facilitating. They got the agreement changed from regional planning to the commissioner, so that's what this contract is for. I have a resolution authorizing Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a contract with A&A Safety Incorporated. This is with the engineer. Total bid amount was $48,258.40. And I have a resolution authorizing the fiscal year 2018 Airport Improvement Program application for the tree clearing and demo land acquisition, authorizing Mike Kirschner to sign as president. This is for the, that little section of land and setting the application. That's
Okay,
what I have.
I will entertain a motion for supplemental appropriations and bids and contracts.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
I think we had said at one point that we were gonna have an update on the TCAP funds after a year. I don't know when that is.
Okay,
Mental health is gonna come in and recap the expenditure of the funds.
Okay. I can see where we're at on that. I'm not sure
I don't know what the timing of that would be, but jail use utilization.
Okay, the time has come for public comment from the general public here. Please bring your questions or comments to 3 minutes, if you will. Anyone have anything like to say this evening? All right, hearing nothing. Yes, I'm sorry.
Jump up right away. Andy's out first.
Is that the same as your email today?
Yes, kinda, that's a portion of what I sent you.
Okay.
I'm just following up on the email that I sent to the commissioners earlier today, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet. I know the one document that I attached was 234 pages long, so there's a lot of material there. As you know, yesterday, S-Power filed their formal application with Ohio Siting Board for the Seneca Wind project. And if you haven't looked, I mean, there is a ton of information. And, you know, which I think, even though it's a ton of stuff to look through, I think it is very informative. So that, you know, compared to what we've had before, you really didn't know what the detailed plans were. So I think it's better for everybody involved to now have more specific information. So I'm glad to see that. But I'll say that that's the good news. The bad news is that I think I found a major problem that has me, you know, upset, and that's why I'm here. And then I'm asking the commissioners to help resolve. The copies that I just handed out include, the first 2 pages include portions of this document that I sent you. And the S-Power plan document correctly states that the setbacks are 1,334 feet from the property line of the nearest adjacent property. And that 1,334 dimension is based on the use of a 2.5 megawatt turbine with 127 meter rotor diameter. So that dimension is correct. I have no problem with that. Those turbines, by the way, are 649 foot tall, which is nearly 100 foot taller than what we previously thought. And in fact, I just did a Google search looking for what's the tallest land-based turbine in the United States today, and I found a 653 foot turbine in Randall County, Texas. And if you look at those images of that installation, it's truly in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you need to take a look at that. It's out in the western plains of Texas. So those turbines are only 4 feet taller than what we're going to have here in Seneca County, which seems alarming to me. The problem I discovered, and that's the second page in my document, is that the same document where it referenced the 1334 setback distances, said and that this is a quote, "The distance between the proposed turbine locations and the nearest non-participating property line ranges from 735 to 2,030 feet, averaging 1,180 feet," end quote. This means the average setback distances for 85 turbines is 1,180 feet, while the state setback law dictates 1,334 feet. I don't see how that's right. To me, it's a direct violation of the property rights of non-participating landowners. In my personal case, and that's the third sheet, I've got a turbine 735 feet from my property line. And I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if S Power is assuming that the setbacks are gonna change, or if they're twisting the law around to take advantage of what I consider to be vague wording in the law, where it references nearest adjacent property line instead of nearest non-participating property line. But something isn't right, and I have a fundamental problem with it. And I expect my elected officials, whether it's the three of you or at the state level, to do something about it. Today I did file a complaint with the siting board, and I also will take legal action if necessary for my personal situation. But on a broader scale, if we just look at the whole Seneca Wind project, given this discovery, I have 3 questions for the three of you. Number 1, are you going to stand for this? Number 2, are you going to recognize that the setback protections for many people in the Seneca Wind footprint are compromised when you consider that S Power states that the average setback distance from the turbines to the property lines of non-participating property lines is only 1,180 feet? And number 3, are you going to step up and take action against this in defense of your constituents' property rights? I don't expect those answers tonight, but I do expect action, and a lot of other people do as well. That's all I've got to say.
Greg, you're gonna get clarification on these setbacks probably before we do. Please keep us informed of that. Like you say, I read through it twice. I'm still not sure that I understand it. So, if you get some clarification, please let us know right away.
Yeah, I do have.
From an engineering standpoint, it would be better for me to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's in the same document, it's contradictory.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
know if it's just an interpretation of the law,
Right.
and that's what I'm trying to get clarified. And you're right, I do have an attorney in Columbus looking at this, so we'll see what he comes back with. But, I mean, there's the fact that the average for 85 turbines is 1,180 feet, which is less than the state law allows. I have a big, big problem with that. I mean, I look back at all of the work we did for the past 6 weeks regarding setbacks, testifying in Columbus, all of that with the Senate Subhouse Bill 114, and for then for it to come back in a different form in the plan documents, I just don't get it.
Yeah. I wouldn't think the siting board could approve the application if it was contrary to state statute. But
That's my hope.
that's a whole nother question, but
Right.
there we go.
So I'd like, I know that the answer from you is, hey, setbacks, that's a state law. You got to deal with, Representative Reineke, or you got to deal with the siting board. I think from a county level, if this is a fight you want to fight, I think you have influence with the right people. And I'm asking you to help fight that fight and help influence to make this right, because this isn't right. I mean, 735 feet from my house is not perfect. Not my house, my property line is not right. That's all I got to say.
One thing I'd like to say, Greg, is I've made the offer to meet and to discuss setbacks with interested parties and come up with some suggestions if anybody asks at the state level for what we think setbacks should be. I made that offer a month ago, and it still stands. So I'm interested in the topic. I think there's some holes in the law that aren't evident in this in your presentation that I think need addressed.
But, you know, at this point, you know, I'm not sure that the legislature is gonna take up setback reform. I just don't know. I don't know if they're gonna pick it up in this election year or not, but I think if they do pick it up, if we had a unified answer, I think that would be powerful. I don't know if we can get there, but I'm willing to sit down and try.
I'm always willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that compromise would be. I just know 735 feet isn't gonna get it. Okay, so if we can do better than that, then we can talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for your hard work on this, Greg.
My name's Gary Happ, and I got a question for you guys. We're talking to SIDEC, redeveloping these communities, investing money in these small communities, but yet you want a 5-year contract to do this, correct?
3 year, but yeah.
3, 5,
Okay.
but yet you won't resend the AEZ to get a contract with this wind company to protect our countryside. This is our county, our beautiful county. They're gonna destroy the roads, they're gonna destroy the bridges, they're gonna de-beautify our county. But you want a contract to beautify the communities. The communities ain't gonna mean nothing if the county isn't worth a shit. You need to get your information. My wife's been on the phone for 2 days with county commissioners all over this state. She's got a lot of good information. You guys need to attend that meeting Thursday and get her information and find out what's gonna happen to this county. And it ain't good. That money don't mean nothing compared to what's gonna happen. These commissioners are telling her this is a scam. You better get your information before it's too late.
Thanks, Gary.
Anyone else? Okay, we are adjourned.